Welcome back guys, this week Cyberpunk got a new patch called 1.6.2, which is mainly used for ray tracing overdrive, alongside with some other smaller features like DLAA and Intel XeSS. For getting a new version number, it is a bit disappointing that we didn't get any new items or any new quests, so there is no additional new content, and unsurprisingly this feature was also only added for PC. But when you open the graphics menu, you will clearly see that there are the new sliders for DLAA, Intel XeSS, and here at the bottom you will find the Ray Tracing Technology Preview, which is the Ray Tracing Overdrive mode. When you activate this feature, it removes all the existing ray tracing sliders and settings and replaces it with the new ray tracing technology. I am an enthusiast when it comes to ray tracing, and I have been playing this game in ray tracing for a very long time already. So I really want you to show the difference between the existing ray tracing mode and the new ray tracing, and if it's actually worth it. So I'm not going to run around at daylight on a blunt street, I will show you the scenes where it actually really matters. I'm running this game on RTX 4080 with a Ryzen 5900X and 64GB of RAM. The game was played on a 4K screen with DLSS on, and it was then downsized to HD to make this video. Every single setting is maxed out to ultra or high, I only disabled motion blur. To make a real comparison versus the old ray tracing and the new ray tracing technology, you have to pick a scene where it really matters. And I found this scene in the upper floor of the Voodoo Boys Hotel in Pacifica. Currently this picture has no ray tracing at all. On the right side I will now enable the Ray Tracing Overdrive mode, which shows an extreme difference from all the light rays that come through the windows, they are reflected on the ground, and even the stuff from the plants that is lying on the ground has an extreme amount of volume thanks to all the shadows which are created. When you compare that to Ray Tracing Medium now on the left side, yes, there are some rays coming from the windows reflecting on the ground and there are some shadows, but not nearly as much and not nearly as realistic. Even the Psycho mode doesn't add much to that. It just adds a little more light, a little more shadows, and that's it. In this specific scene, the Ray Tracing Overdrive mode really shows the new technology at its best, and it really shows that it is an extremely better picture with an extreme difference to the picture before. Just imagine this picture without ray tracing. This is a complete blunt picture, completely different than when you enable Ray Tracing Overdrive. But that was a very specific scene to show you the difference. When you just run the in-game benchmark, or if you just play the game normally, either with Ray Tracing Medium or Ray Tracing Overdrive, in any normal in-game scene, you most likely won't see the difference. The only difference here between these two benchmarks is actually the door, which has a much glossier surface and randomly got a window. Sometimes even the lighting on the left looks more realistic because it has overall more light, but the right side with the Ray Tracing Overdrive has the warmer colors and the overall more realism. But what is more important in this comparison is the frame rate, because the frame rate for the Overdrive mode drops down to only 35 FPS on average, whereas with the Ray Tracing Medium DLSS on it was well over 60, which was really nice, and I've been playing this setting for a very long time. Of course, you barely see the difference in ray tracing when you run around at daytime, so I also picked some scenes at night. For example, the Cary Eurodyne residence. It actually looks extremely realistic with the new ray tracing overdrive mode, but when you enable the non-ray tracing picture, you will actually be shocked by how much details and lights you're actually losing. So on the right side you see a non-ray traced picture of this residence. You actually see that the light beams on the building is completely missing, the light on the street is missing, and much else. But when you switch to Ray Tracing Medium on the left side, you get back all the lighting on the buildings, you get all the lighting on the street, on the trees. It is actually looking much better compared to the Overdrive mode. Even the non-ray tracing picture on the right side looks better than the Overdrive mode. So my theory about this is, when you replace every source of light with a path of light, the game either can't handle all the paths for every light source in this picture, or you actually need some of these artificial lights to complement the ray tracing effects. Because you can't simply replace every source of light. If you want to have a cyberpunk feeling, you need those artificial LED effect lights to have the cyberpunk feeling. So after this shocking comparison, I created this normal in-game driving scene. We are driving around at night, and on the left side we have Ray Tracing Medium, on the right side we have Ray Tracing Overdrive. If you actually see a difference here between those two ray tracing modes, then holy smokes, you have really good eyes. I've been watching this over 10 times and I can't really make a difference, which comes down to a better ray tracing effect. The only thing I actually see after watching this over 10 times is that the right side might have a tad darker image, so you have less light on the right side, which is also again due to the fact that all light sources on the right side are replaced with path lights. And on the left side we actually have a mixture of normal rastered lights plus ray tracing lights, which in a lot of scenes is actually the better solution. So having everything replaced with a path of light might actually work if you can really trace enough paths of lights. But in this technology demo, I actually get the feeling that the game or the current hardware is not able to handle every source of light to make it actually count. So in my opinion, a mixture of normal rastered lights complemented with ray tracing lights is actually the better solution that gives you sometimes even a better picture than overdrive mode. And it also is the much more economic version. When you think about the ray tracing medium gives you over 60 FPS with an RTX 4080, and the overdrive mode cuts it in half to only 30 or even less. If you disable DLSS, you will be down to 10 or 15 FPS with the overdrive mode. And that simply doesn't scale with the additional quality gain, especially between the existing ray tracing and the ray tracing overdrive. Just enabling a normal ray tracing mode is enough to give you a huge quality boost. But the additional quality boost from ray tracing overdrive is actually barely visible outside of the photo mode. You will not be able to see it when you just play the game. One last thing I want to compare for ray tracing is the weapons, because Nvidia also compared the weapons and the cool smoke effects they have on their weapons. Well, I actually had a hard time seeing them. When I played this with ray tracing medium, that was on here previously, and I switched to ray tracing overdrive, the thing I can see is that the picture is actually much brighter, the weapon has a much higher reflective surface. So I have to admit, I really like the new weapon style. It is much more realistic than the old one. It also reflects the light much better. However, the amount of time you hold your weapon in this position and it is actually very sunny is very minimal. You will just run around and see only the back of your weapon most of the time. So there is no real point losing 30 FPS for having your weapons to be more shiny. But I think that is a decision you have to make yourself. So in summary, I'm all in for ray tracing. I'm a big fan of ray tracing, I like to play the game in ray tracing, and enabling ray tracing in whatever kind of mode gives you a big picture quality boost. The problem with all this ray tracing versus path tracing is that the quality you gain does not scale properly with the hardware requirement. You will lose about half of your FPS for an almost insignificant boost for ray tracing overdrive. It will give you the better picture, no question, if you use photo mode, if you want to have a still scene and create the best possible picture for your games. But outside of photo mode, if you just want to play the game normally, I don't see the real need for it. At least not in the current state when you sacrifice half of your performance. Since there was no other technical change in this update, and this update was not for consoles anyway, you can still do all the glitches from all the previous videos I made for patch 1.6 or patch 161. First and foremost, the XP farm, where you can do the El Coyote run, which was explained in the XP farm video. Please don't forget to speak and solve the Barkeeper's quest and Mama World's quest in order to make the enemies properly respawn. The whole quest and how to do this farm is better explained in the XP farming video, which will be linked in the description of this video. The same also applies to the duplication money glitch, which is still working and definitely the best way to make money in Cyberpunk 2077. In order to perform this glitch, you have to sell your items twice to the vendor. You can do that by setting your selling limit to -1 than you actually own. You have to place your cursor on the item you want to sell and then hold the sell menu button and press confirm at the same time. By holding these two buttons at the same time, the pop-up will open immediately again and you can sell your items again without even having these items. This will duplicate the items on the vendor side, then you can buy back the items normally and do the trick again. Make sure that you always buy back the items normally. If you do it in the wrong direction, you will not gain any money. Always duplicate from your inventory towards the vendor until you have enough items which you can then sell to get all the money outside of the vendor. You can find 2 videos I made for this trick in the description as well. It is also still possible to do the athletics AFK glitch. In order to do that, you just have to activate your Berserk cyberware and then make about 10 swings with your katana. It is important that you drain a certain amount of your stamina, but you don't have to drain much of it. After you have made 10 attacks, perform a heavy attack and then press pause in the middle of this attack. Then you can actually go to the menu and then check your athletics score. This score will increase by 75 points every 30 seconds. So after 5 minutes you will get over 1500 points for your athletics score. You can of course let this run overnight and get hundreds of thousands. It is also still possible to duplicate Skippy and finish Regina's quest at the same time. In order to do that, you have to press the confirm button when prompted to hand over Skippy, and just a very few frames after that, you just have to press the pause button to interrupt your movement. Then you just go to the menu, drop Skippy to the ground, and after you exit the pause menu, you will execute the handover and Skippy is also lying on the ground, giving you a duplicate and also finishing the quest. And you can also still skip into Konpeki Plaza and get to Satori on the rooftop in case you missed it. In order to do that, I will show you all the steps needed. Just follow this guide to get this done. Just park your car on the highway overpass and then double jump on top of the wall to get inside the compound of Konpeki Plaza. The next difficult thing you have to break through is the front door of Konpeki Plaza. For that you have to summon one of your cars. I recommend to get the Porsche and park it in front of the door. Then you simply have to jump on top of your car and crouch between the car and the door. That will make the door glitch open if you park your car in the right distance to the door. If it doesn't work immediately, you have to change the position of your car just slightly closer or farther away from the door. Then just turn around, enter the lobby and go to the far right elevator on the map. Ride the elevator to the highest floor and then simply backtrack all the way where you killed all those enemies together with Jackie until you reach an area with that tree. That is very close to the area where you actually started after jumping down the roof. But in this case, you have to jump on top of the tree and then double jump on the roof. When you do that during daytime, you will be actually blinded, so I really recommend to switch to nighttime for doing the next jumps. The jump from the pipes to the glass panel is probably the most difficult one, but it can be done with a double jump. Another very difficult jump is on top of that ledge. And this is actually the ledge where you jump down. You can now easily get inside, collect the Satori from the roof or even collect the Iguana egg in case you missed it. Since there were no further technical changes, all the videos I made for patch 1.6 are still working and you can make and create all the builds I already made for you. If you liked this video, please don't forget to subscribe, leave me a like and see you next time.